let me ask every single one of us out there, have we not learned something from all the wars in history? And especially have we not learned anything from World War II and how people were gassed to death and how people, human beings, this happened to? I'm you know, for years I have watched documentaries on the men and the women that did this and the cruel, harsh way that it went about, how us humans killed each other like wild animals with no remorse, with no inkling of caring for humanity in the least bit. And this is something, there's something that I realized about myself. I have this thing they call over empathy, and I have this empathy for mankind and people that have been killed horribly and horrible things that have happened in history. And right now I'm watching this video on Rudolf Hess, or Hess, that was the guy that, commanded Auschwitz. And he did these most horrible things. And at the end of his life, before he was hung, he admitted that he was wrong and he did these wrong things. But do we see what these ideologies do? Do we see what we are doing here? I think each one of us should be forced to watch these things over and over again. I think every single person that in schools, everywhere, should be forced to watch this kind of stuff. They say, oh no, it's too horrible to watch and all this stuff. Yes, it's horrible to watch, and that's why we should be forced to watch it so that we don't ever repeat this again. But just look at the world. Look at what's going on right now. 2022, we have world leaders that are declaring war, that are bombing people, that are still committing these acts of horror against mankind, our own people, human beings. And I realize that, yes, there are people, there are psychopaths, there are narcissists, there are many types of different people with different brains. They think differently. Some people have less remorse than others. Some people are way more empathetic than others. And me, when I say that I don't care, like I said before, I don't care about petty, nonsensical, stupid things that don't mean anything. But I do care that this happens. And let us hope that even though I'm doubting lately that there is a God and a creator, I still don't know. And there's still that part of me that says there might be something that actually does judge us for the things we did, even though the creator, or God, if there is such a thing, made this and did it. So it's that conundrum that I can't quite grasp. But a lot of us better hope that there isn't a such thing as true justice, because if there is, I'm screwed. A lot of people are very screwed if there is such a thing as justice. Like the things we did to something will be done back to us in the same manner, kind of like an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. That is a very scary thought when I sit here and think about that, because I have done things in my life where it's horrible to even think about some of the things. When I was a little kid, I was a cruel kid and I did some cruel things. And I deserve to have that stain on me for the rest of my life. I deserve to think about it all the time. I deserve to be kind of mentally tortured by it in a way. And I know other people will go, "Oh, well, you shouldn't do that." And you know, you did it and it's done with. And yeah, I understand that, but if we don't remember what we did, if we don't remember the past and we don't remember the things that we did as human beings, we are all involved with this. Just because you weren't a person that was doing these things, just because you weren't the guy that was dropping the Zyklon B into the gas chambers at Auschwitz and Treblinka and Sobibor and all these other places, it doesn't mean that if you were in that same situation that you wouldn't have participated, because you would have been killed too if you wouldn't have did it. So I think any of us would have been capable of doing these monstrous, unbelievable acts of horror against humanity. And this is another reason why I get so down and out. And this is another reason why I get so depressed, because I think about this stuff every day of my life. I have horrible, horrible dreams every day of my life. And I know this sounds crazy, but I kind of deserve that for some of the things I did. I deserve to have mental horror in my own mind, because that, I think that is justice, if there is such a thing. And I know it sounds crazy, but if there is such a thing as this place that we go when we die, and you pay for what you did, or there's some kind of eternity, if, I'm just saying, if, it's a very weird thing. It's a very weird thing. I can't really explain. I can never explain what I'm saying, but I think of things in an eternal aspect, even though I know that my life here is short, even though I know one day my heart will stop beating and I will be dead like so many other people before me. I'm always thinking of things as in the future, even though I know the future doesn't exist, because I went through this period where I have repented for the things that I did, and I sat in deep thought and I wept over things that I seen and did. I wept over things that people did. You know, there's this one guy that killed his kids and his wife, the dude Chris Watts. I wept when I watched that story. And even though I can't judge the guy because I did things myself, and then there's another guy that did something, and then there's so many people that did this, and we killed our own people, and the horrors in World War II, and the trenches in World War I, and the things that went on in China and Japan, and the starvation that happened. And I just, you know, that that the people that carry these things out, they don't have empathy. They can't have empathy because there's no way that they can do that. And then I wonder, are they, because they don't have this empathy trait and because they can't feel for another person, even though what they did was morally wrong, how much can you blame them? Because if they would have had empathy, they wouldn't have did something like that. You see, there is no way. I would have probably been shot and killed, or something would have happened to me if I was in World War II and they were getting me to kill people and do that kind of stuff. I couldn't bring myself to probably do it. Like, I'm being honest here. I really don't think I could bring myself to do that, because I don't know. It's really weird. Maybe when I was younger and I was cruel and I had a bunch of things that I did, I thought differently than what I do now. You see, I went through that stage of repentance and reflecting on my own life and all the things that I did. And I don't know. I don't know where I'm getting at with this video. I really don't. But I think for the generations to come, we are going to forget about these things. And then we're going to have more wars. We're going to have more cruelty. We're going to have more mass executions and crimes against humanity. It's going to keep happening if we don't learn from it, or we're not forced to watch what happened from before. And I know me, I had to force myself to watch these things. And it was almost like I was drawn in to watch them. Like something was pushing me to do it. Like, because of the things I did in my life, I said, well, now I have to face this. Because of some of the things I did, I have to feel some of that agony. I have to feel some of the things that I seen others do and myself do, and all that kind of stuff. And I know there's not a lot of people that do this or will do this, and I know it sounds probably nuts to the average person. But like I said, I just really don't know. I just really don't know anymore. Even though I doubt there is something after this, and I doubt there is some eternal soul that we have, maybe there is something. And I know that, just think about this. Really think of what I'm telling you here. We all want to kind of represent this thing where we're this prideful person and we do these things that we do. And like these guys that talk about shooting in their music and selling drugs and doing all these destructive things. How could you keep going with people like that? You can't. You will eventually all slay one another. You will kill one another, because you're corrupt, you're foolish, you're bloodthirsty. You're after these prideful ideologies that will do nothing but destroy one another. And I see so many people hopping on that bandwagon of, you're trying to be cool. You're trying to look like a tough guy and all this stuff. And I'm telling you, all that is there is death, destruction, and you can't keep going. Like, and then people, they hang around each other, people that are like this. And I say, well, eventually it's just like the mob. Once a thief, always a thief, and eventually they will all kill each other in the name of this money and power and corruption that will never get us anywhere. It will never do anything for any of us. Yet that is what so many of us are after in this life. And it's, I really think you have to come to some eternal aspect in your mind to where you actually have to be forced to take a look at your own life, and you have to be forced to actually look at what you do not want to look at. And it's, I don't know. I really don't know what I'm saying here, but if there is or there isn't something, if there is or there isn't a God, if there is or there isn't some kind of other intelligence or afterlife, if there is or there isn't these things, I'm just saying I constantly am thinking of like an eternal aspect to this whole thing. Even though I think I only have this life, I'm thinking of this life and what I have left now. It's like time is, oh, I feel like time is running out all the time. That's how I feel all the time. And I think a lot of people, they're so caught up in their pride and they're so caught up in these bad things, and they just think they have forever and they could just do whatever they want to do, because it's not them, they're not the ones getting gassed to death. They're not the ones getting shot. They're not the ones having all these cruel things done to them. So they don't really see that horror, and they never witnessed it or experienced it. And they don't know any better because they didn't do that. And then, the people that are psychopaths, they just can't feel for these kind of things. They can't really understand empathy and sympathy. So like, where do you draw the line here? Do they know, do they have some type of moral code, or is their brain, that something going on to where they don't know these things? And this is something that, even though it's evil and it's corrupt, it's something that it fascinates me, but at the same time it upsets me, and it makes me talk about the things that I talk about because I see them for what it is. And I forced myself to watch these things. I forced myself to look into what I did in my life, and I forced myself to face the things I did. And it was a very scary process, and it still is, and I still do it. I don't know why I do it. It's like I want to get rid of all the guilt, all the shame, all the stuff that I have. And even though I asked for forgiveness, if there is something to forgive me of this, it's still there with me. Like, I can't get it out of my brain. It's that thorn in my brain that is there, and it's, no matter what I do, no matter what I say, it's always there, and I'm always reminded of it. And it's a really strange thing. On one hand, I want to get the best out of this life, and I want to help people, and I want to enjoy it. But then on the other hand, I know it's kind of futile, and I know that one day I'm going to be dead. I know I'm going to be just like any other human in history. I'm not going to be here for long. And I say, this is a momentary trip that we are on. And just what if there is something that judges us? What if there is something, just what if? That's all I'm saying. And I say this for this life too, because if we're just going and doing all these things, then there can be no peace of mind. There can be no There has to be something that stops these things. There has to be something that puts a hindrance on these kinds of things, or we'll just run wild and we'll destroy each other completely, and it will turn into a complete madhouse. So you got to have some kind of law and order. You got to have some type of goodness and some type of building something and not destroying, because if you keep doing that, then there's going to be nothing left. So anyway, it's just to get everybody to reflect. It's I know that what I'm speaking, it will never be popular. It won't reach too many people. I already know the cold hard truth of the reality of what I'm speaking. Not too many people are going to face, not too many people are going to listen to. And this is all a part of my rebellion, is that in a way I'm glad I rebelled, and in a way I'm not, because I don't know what would have happened if I wouldn't have. But now that I did, it made me look at life differently. It made me look at everything differently. And this is where a lot of my metaphorical bleeding, aching heart comes from, because I think about these things and I have empathy, but yet I wonder, how could I have at one time been so ignorant and foolish and cruel? I can't understand that. It's like I had to do something in order to see what I did. It's like I was once clothed, now I'm naked. I'm naked. And when I did something a while ago, I remember doing what I did, and I felt like I lost my innocence. I felt like I was naked before the whole world. It's a really, really weird feeling. And I had this happen when I was like 10 or 11 years old, something I did. I don't want to really get into it. I don't really want to talk about it, but I know what I did. I know what I did. And I think that each one of us, we should have to face what we did. I think we should have to come to terms with the things that we're doing and the things we're thinking and how we're acting and how we're treating other people and how we're treating ourselves. It really comes down to a thing where I think the things I did, it's because I wasn't in, I can't explain it. I wasn't in the right state of mind, and I was a kid and I was ignorant, and I don't know why I could be like I was, because I wasn't raised like that. I never had anybody teach me certain things, and I just wonder where this cruelty and where this viciousness and anger and other things came from when I was a kid. And I look back and I say, that is not me now, but it was me at one time. And sometimes it feels like a dream. It feels like it didn't even happen. But I know that it did. And not being able to erase something or go back in time or have a time machine where you can undo something, it's not a good feeling. But yet, like I said, I deserve not to have a good feeling. And I don't hear too many people talking about this kind of stuff. I don't hear too many people reminding people of these types of things so that we don't get involved with this stuff or it doesn't repeat itself. You know, if we don't remember history, then we're doomed to repeat it. If we don't look at these things, or the schools that kids are going to are not shown these things, or your parents never shown it or told you about it or anything, then you're not going to know. You know, this whole thing comes down to showing people and actually making them watch something and learn from it. And this is what so many people, kids coming into this world, they're going to do some cruel things and it's going to happen. And it doesn't have to happen so much, you know? So anyway, I don't know really where to end the video or to go from here, but we're the only people that can actually, we don't have to be like nature. We don't have to be cruel. We don't have to be like that. We can think and we can react a different kind of way. We have the capacity to do that. And I would rather have more goodness and more health and more things like that in the world than these bad things and these horrible things. Because if it just keeps going like that, then everybody's going to decimate each other. There will be nothing. Everything will be destroyed. Evil will take over, corruption will take over, and you can't keep going with that. It's impossible. A corrupt system can't last. It's impossible. It can't do it. So why do you think every empire has fell since the beginning of time? Because every single one of them was corrupt. And we still haven't learned. We still haven't learned this. So anyway, this is just me giving you what I have seen. And this isn't even in full detail. This is just the skin of it. This isn't even the bone gristle or the bone marrow of it. This is just the outside skin that I'm talking to you and you're seeing. You know, I could never, if I could somehow put a wire from my brain into yours, and you could know everything that I dreamt of and everything I went through and all the things that I did and I witnessed and, you know, etc., you know, it would, you would be a different person like that. But, you know, that's not how it is. So that's why if nobody's talking about it or nobody's teaching anybody nothing, then nobody's ever going to know about it. And it's just going to keep going and going and going like that. And ignorance and cruelty will abound. It's our nature to be like that with a lot of things because of our pride and ideologies and all these other things. And we have to see that these things are a cancer, they're a poison that will never get us anywhere. They will just destroy, corrupt, and keep everything out of balance. It'll keep people starving. It will keep dropping bombs. It'll keep killing others. It will keep doing all these destructive things if we don't see, with the few people that actually do see, don't say this to people that might not see what's really going on. And that's like kind of one of my missions while I'm here, is to just make people see what we're really doing. And that we don't have to do that. So anyway, that's it for this video. Remember, I just say remember, because I know me, I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson in my life. I learned my lesson, and I remember these things, And I don't think there's too much more that I can learn my lesson with. You know, I've been going through this for a long time, and it's like I know better now. I know better. And it was a very, very long process. It was not a short process. I mean, this was over probably, you know, in 17-year period or something it took. It didn't just happen in a couple months or a couple years. But that's what it is. I'll leave you to think about that later on.